Welcome back, everybody. So we're diving into Chapter 4 this time of The Book of Why by Judea Pearl and Dean McKenzie, specifically prepared for us by Amir Rafay.
That's right. And this chapter is all about confounding.
Confounding, right. Yeah, and I don't know about you, but like this whole concept of, confounding these hidden variables, it always kind of blows my mind how they can just like totally throw off research. It's like, how do you even know what you're looking at?
Yeah. No, it really is. It highlights how difficult it is to pinpoint cause and effect. But what's interesting is that this idea, this concept, this problem of confounding, it's been around for centuries. Even in ancient Babylon, people were grappling with this idea. In fact, the chapter opens with a story about Daniel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Daniel, who basically challenged the king's dietary decree with like a proto-scientific experiment.
Hold on, wait, like biblical Daniel. Okay, yeah, no, you've got my attention now. Tell me more.
Right. So the king, he demands that everyone eat meat and drink wine.
Right.
Like, that's what you're going to do. But Daniel's like, no, hold on. Me and my buddies, we want to try a vegetarian diet just for 10 days. And we'll see how we compare to the meat eaters.
Okay.
And it's incredible. Like, he had a control group, a comparison over time. It's like an early randomized controlled trial.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, Daniel and his crew, they thrived on that veggie diet.
All right.
But I'm guessing this is where the confounding like sneaks in.
Right. Exactly. So the question is, what if Daniel and his friends were just naturally healthier to begin with?
Okay, yeah.
That pre-existing difference could totally skew the results.
Oh, really?
And this happens all the time in modern research. Like, take that study about walking and longevity. If you just observe that people who walk more live longer, you might think, oh, walking makes you live longer, but...
Well, it could be that younger people are more likely to walk briskly and less likely to die from, well, anything at all.
Right. So age, in this case, is a confounder. It's messing with our results.
So how do researchers even untangle that mess? Like, how do they figure out what's really going on?
Well, that is where the beauty of randomized controlled trials comes in, or RCTs. So by randomly assigning people to either walk a lot or a little, you essentially level the playing field. Any differences in longevity then are more likely due to the walking itself and not some hidden variable like age.
So the randomization acts like a kind of scientific reset button, making those hidden variables less influential.
Exactly. And that's not all. RCTs, they eliminate both known A&D unknown confounders, which makes them incredibly powerful.
Right.
And then to add yet another layer of protection, researchers use something called blinding.
Blinding, okay.
Where neither the researchers nor the participants know who is getting the real treatment and who's getting a placebo.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's kind of like a scientific taste test, right? Keeps everyone's expectations in check so they don't accidentally influence the results. But I'm guessing RCTs can't solve every problem, right? There's going to be some limitations.
You're absolutely right. While RCTs are considered like the gold standard, they're not always feasible or ethical. Imagine trying to study the effects of smoking or obesity. You can't exactly force people into those categories for the sake of research.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So what happens then? Do we just throw our hands up and say, well, we'll never know the true cause and effect?
No, not at all. That's where the causal revolution, which this book is all about, really comes in.
Okay.
It arms us with a set of tools to tackle confounding, even in observational studies, where we're just observing what people are already doing.
Right.
And one of the most powerful tools is the backdoor criterion.
Okay, backdoor criterion. That sounds kind of mysterious, but definitely interesting. What is that?
It is. So think of it this way. Imagine you're in a castle, and you've got like these non-causal paths that are like secret tunnels.
Okay, yeah.
That are allowing like sneaky invaders to bypass the main gate.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
The backdoor criterion helps us seal those tunnels off, ensuring we're only measuring the true causal effect.
Got it.
And we do that using something called causal diagrams.
So we're basically drawing a map of cause and effect,
right,
and then figuring out where those sneaky back doors are so we can slam them shut.
You got it. And the book actually has these confounding games that walk you through how to use causal diagrams to spot and block these misleading pathways. Want to try one?
Absolutely. Let's see if I can outsmart those confounding invaders.
Okay, so get ready for this. Sometimes, even trying to control for something can totally backfire.
Oh, really?
It's called M-bias, named after the shape it makes on a causal diagram.
M-bias, okay. Ominous. Give me the scenario. What's going on here?
All right, so imagine we're testing a new drug. We'll call it X.
Okay.
And we want to see how it affects patient recovery, Y.
Right.
We also know about a genetic marker. We'll call that A, the severity of the illness. C And whether the patient gets nauseous as a side effect, B.
Okay, so we've got the drug, recovery, genes, illness severity, and nausea.
Got it.
So what's connected to what here? Like, how do these all relate?
Okay, so the drug X can affect both recovery Y and nausea B.
Makes sense.
The genetic marker A can influence both nausea B and illness severity C.
Okay.
And of course, how severe the illness is C will impact recovery Y.
Okay, yeah. I'm already starting to see the M forming here. Nausea is like the middle point, right?
Exactly.
Influenced by both the drug and the genes.
Right. And here's the crucial point. There's no direct link between the drug and the severity of the illness.
Okay.
The only way the drug influences recovery, besides potentially through nausea, is that direct path from X to Y.
Okay, so if we want to know the real effect of the drug on recovery, we shouldn't need to control for anything, right?
You got it.
Because that nausea collider is already blocking that backdoor path.
Exactly. But here's where the track lies. Traditional statistics might say, hey, nausea is linked to both the drug and recovery. Let's control for it.
Oh, no. So you're saying that controlling for something that seems totally important could actually create a bias.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why these causal diagrams are so crucial. They really help us visualize these tricky relationships.
Absolutely. Because if we control for nausea, we actually open up that backdoor path that was perfectly blocked before.
Right.
We create a fake correlation between the drug and recovery that isn't really there.
Oh, wow. That is so sneaky. M bias, where trying to be clever actually messes us up. So we want to leave nausea alone in this case. Are there other situations where we need to be extra careful?
Absolutely. One common pitfall is when we have a mediator variable, something that's actually part of the cause and effect chain.
A mediator, like a middleman in the whole process.
Exactly. It helps explain how the treatment leads to the outcome. Let's say we're looking at exercise, X, and its impact on reducing heart disease risk, Y. Cholesterol levels, Z, could be a mediator here.
Okay, so exercise might lower cholesterol, which then lowers heart disease risk. So Z, cholesterol, is explaining that link between exercise and heart disease risk.
Precisely. But if we controlled for cholesterol, we'd essentially be saying, let's ignore how exercise is working its magic. We'd be blocking the very mechanism we're trying to understand.
Oh, wow. It's like saying, let's see how exercise affects your heart, but pretend cholesterol doesn't exist?
Right.
That would give you a totally skewed result.
It would. Controlling for a mediator is like cutting the wires in the middle of the circuit.
Right.
The effect won't get through.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This is making me rethink, like, everything I thought I knew about analyzing data. It's not just about correlations, it's about understanding the why behind them and using these causal tools to guide us.
That's the essence of the causal revolution. It's about moving beyond just what is happening and delving into the why, even in these like really messy real-world situations.
This is seriously eye-opening. But one last question about these confounding games. The book has these like beautiful diagrams, but in real life, isn't it much harder to know what those causal connections actually are?
That's a great point. In practice, building these diagrams takes a combination of like expertise, observation, and even a bit of educated guessing. It's an ongoing process.
So it's like a detective case, right?
Yeah.
We use all the clues to build the most likely picture of cause and effect.
Exactly. And as we learn more, we refine our model.
Right.
But even imperfect models using the backdoor criterion are a lot more powerful than relying on traditional statistics alone.
This whole conversation has been a game changer. It's like I've leveled up my thinking skills. But before we wrap up, what are some real-world places where these ideas are making a difference? Like, how is this causal revolution actually impacting things out in the real world?
That's the exciting part. It's not just theory. It's having a real impact across many fields. And that's what we're going to explore in the final part of our discussion.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time talking about confounding causal diagrams, backdoor criterion, these confounding games. But I'm ready for the big picture. How is this causal revolution actually changing things out in the real world? Like, where's the rubber meeting the road here?
Yeah, that's the exciting part. It's not just theoretical. It's having tangible effects across a bunch of different fields. Like, take healthcare, for instance. So many treatment decisions have been based on these observational studies. And we know now those are vulnerable to all sorts of bias.
Right, because you can't always do an RCT for everything, right?
Right.
Ethically, logistically, sometimes it's just not possible.
Exactly. But with the tools of the causal revolution, we can re-examine those studies, those observational studies, with a much more critical eye.
Okay.
We can identify potential confounders and adjust for them using techniques like the backdoor criterion, and that leads to much more reliable conclusions about which treatments actually work.
So we're potentially improving healthcare decisions based on a deeper, more causal understanding of the data. That's huge.
It really is. And it goes way beyond healthcare. Think about economics. Economists are constantly trying to figure out these cause and effect relationships between policies and economic outcomes. Like, do tax cuts actually boost economic growth? Does raising the minimum wage lead to job losses?
Yeah, these are like massive questions with very real consequences. And I can only imagine how difficult it is to isolate true cause and effect in those scenarios.
It's incredibly complex, and economists have relied heavily on these statistical models, but those models often struggle to really disentangle those intricate causal relationships. But now, armed with causal diagrams and techniques like the do calculus, which we could spend a whole nother episode talking about, they can approach those questions with more rigor, more precision.
So the causal revolution is giving economists this new arsenal to tackle these economic puzzles and potentially inform better policy decisions.
Yeah.
Are there other fields that are kind of being revolutionized by this causal way of thinking?
Oh, absolutely. The social sciences, political science, education, even artificial intelligence. Anywhere we're trying to understand cause and effect, these tools are relevant. And as more researchers adopt these methods, we're going to see a pretty significant shift, I think, in how research is done, how decisions are made across the board.
Yeah, it feels like we're at the start of like a whole new era of scientific understanding. This whole conversation has really like completely changed how I think about interpreting research and how I think about approaching problems, even in my own work.
That's the power of it. It's not just about changing how we do research. It's about changing how we think. It's about embracing that causal mindset, questioning assumptions and constantly seeking a deeper understanding of the world.
This has been honestly like one of the most thought-provoking discussions we've had in a while. I'm walking away with new tools and like just a renewed sense of curiosity about the power of causal reasoning.
Me too. And I hope our listeners are feeling the same way. So with this new understanding of confounding and deconfounding, how might you reinterpret some of the research findings you see, whether it's in the news or in your work or even in your personal life?
That is such a great question to ponder. It makes me think of that line from the book, "The age of confusion over confounding has come to an end."
I love that. It really captures the essence of the causal revolution. It's about clarity, rigor, and a deeper, more meaningful understanding of these causal connections that they shape our world.
Well said. And to all of our listeners out there, if you're intrigued by this whole idea of the causal revolution, definitely check out The Book of Why by Jadiah Pearl and Dana McKenzie. It's a fascinating book and surprisingly accessible. It's a great journey into the power of causal reasoning.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe this conversation sparks something in you. Maybe you'll be the one making the next groundbreaking discoveries in this exciting field.
What a thought. And on that note, we'll wrap up this exploration of Chapter 4 of The Book of Why. Until next time, keep asking why and keep exploring that incredible world of cause and effect.